So let us deal with the problem solving session of center of mass and collision. So we are dealing with the first problem. A uniform disk of radius r is put over another uniform disk of radius 2r of the same thickness and density. The peripheries of the two disks touch each other. We have to locate the center of mass of the system. So if we consider this problem, we are first of all drawing the system like this, that this is one large uniform disk of radius 2r, which is somewhat like this. Now the center of a uniform disk is at the center of the disk, that is the geometrical center of the disk. And the problem is saying that another disk of radius r is placed on top in a way like this. So we can say that this is the geometric center of the bigger disk, and this distance is equal to 2r. So now in order to find the center of mass of this system in which one disk is placed over the another, we are first of all writing a term of density. So if I write the term of density considering that the thickness is or the height is equal to h, so I can say that capital M upon pi 2r square h is equal to small m, that is mass of smaller disk, upon pi r square h. So if we write it in this term, so I can write that capital M is equal to 4 pi r square rho h, and small m is equal to pi r square rho h. So where we are considering that this expression is equal to m naught. So I can say m is equal to m naught, and capital M is equal to 4 m naught. So now if I apply the working formula, that is position vector of center of mass is equal to m1 r1 vector plus m2 r2 vector upon m1 plus m2, then considering that our origin is at the center of this large disk, so I can say that the value of m1 is equal to 4 m naught, and its center is equal to 0 I cap and 0 j cap plus m naught. Now the center of this is over here, so I will write it as r I cap plus 0 j cap upon total mass, that is 5 m naught. So on solving, we are obtaining m naught r upon 5 m naught, that is r by 5 I cap plus 0 j cap. So I can say that the center of mass of the system is located at a distance of r by 5 from the larger disk. Let us move to the next problem. A disk of radius r is cut out from a larger disk of radius 2r in such a way that the edge of the hole touches the edge of the disk. Locate the center of mass of the residual disk. So if we consider this particular problem, so we are considering it in this way that we have a large disk somewhat like this, and from here a portion is cut off, so the residual disk that is remaining is this one. So the first thing that I do is I fix the coordinate system. So I am fixing the coordinate system like this, that this is the x-axis and this one is the y-axis, and the total radius of this larger disk is equal to 2r, which is the diameter for the smaller disk. So the next thing which I write over here is the expression for the mass of the larger disk and the smaller disk, that is the removed disk. So we write it in this way, that sigma equals capital M upon pi r square, which is equal to 2r in this particular case. So we will write it as capital M upon pi 2r square is equal to small m, which is mass removed, upon pi r square. So from here I can say that capital M upon 4 pi r square is equal to small m upon pi r square, and I can say that the mass removed is equal to m by 4. So the mass removed is equal to m by 4, and the residual mass is 3m by 4. The residual mass is 3m by 4. Now the logic which we are going to give over here is, if I put back this mass over here, I am putting it in terms of a small dot, something like this, then the center of mass must come back to its original position. So try to understand this concept, that if I put back this cut part, then the center of mass will again fall back to the center of the original system, which is here. So if something as such is going on, so I can say that for the residual mass, let center of mass be x I cap 0 j cap, and for the mass removed, the center of mass is at r by 2, I'm sorry, r I cap for the removed mass, it is r I cap 0 j cap. So if I consider both of them combined, then the center of mass must come back to 0 comma 0, which is here. So then I can write the expression like this, that the position of center of mass for both of this system is equal to 3m by 4 x I cap plus m by 4 r I cap upon total mass, which is equal to m, must come to 0. So we are only solving the I cap portion, because the j cap portion will give us 0 value. So it implies that the shift in the center of mass of the system is along the x-axis direction. So from here I can solve that 3m by 4 into x is equal to minus m by 4 r, and the value over here turn out that x is equal to minus r by 3. So the position vector of the center of mass is going to be minus r by 3 comma 0. So for the residual system, the center of mass is going to be minus r by 3 comma 0. I am once again repeating the concept which we have taken in over here. The concept is simple. If I put back the removed portion, then the center of mass must come back to its original position. So that is what we are using over here. So I am considering it as a two system, in which we have a residual mass as system number 1 and the removed mass as system number 2. So and then we are applying the formula m1 r1 plus m2 r2 upon m1 plus m2, which must come back to the origin, that is the initial position of center of mass. Let us move to the next problem. So the problem is stating, find the center of mass of a uniform plate having semicircular inner and outer boundaries of radius r1 and r2 as shown in the given figure. So the first thing that I must write over here is the result which we will be using. So the result which we are using, if there is a semicircular plate somewhat like this, then the center of mass of this plate is lying on the line of symmetry, and if I consider this one as the y-axis and this one as the x-axis, so the position of center of mass can be written as 0 comma 4r by 3 pi. So this is the result which must be kept in mind before beginning with this problem, that is position of center of mass for a semicircular plate is given in this way. Now the next thing which I establish over here is the relation between the two masses. So I am writing over here that sigma is equal to m upon pi r2 square by 2, which is equal to small m upon pi r1 square by 2. So over here I am considering that capital M is the total mass of the system before the removal of the inner disk. So this total mass is equal to capital M, and the mass which we are removing from inside it, which is going to be this mass, we are treating it as a small m. So from here we can frame an equation somewhat like this, that small m is equal to capital M r1 square by r2 square. So small m can be written as capital M r1 square by r2 square. So I can write over here that m2 is equal to m minus of m r1 square by r2 square. Or I can rewrite it as m2 is equal to m r2 square minus r1 square by r2 square. So we get an expression somewhat like this, that is the mass of the residual system. So this one is the mass of residual system, this one is the removed mass, and capital M is the total mass of the system which we are considering. So this is the removed residual mass, and this is the removed mass. So again we are applying the same concept, that if I put back the removed mass into the residual mass, then the center of mass must come back to its original position, that is 0, 4 r by 3 pi. So if I do somewhat like this, because the shift in the center of mass is going to be along the y-axis direction, because even after cutting there is a symmetry that is prevailing along the x-axis. So now I can say that if I apply the equation, that is position of center of mass is equal to m1 r1 plus m2 r2 upon m1 plus m2, then I am applying along the y-axis direction only. Then I can say that the final center of mass must come back to 4 r2 upon 3 pi, and that can be written as, the m1 can be written as m r1 square by r2 square 4 r1 by 3 pi, where this one is the mass of the inner disk, that is the removed portion, plus the leftover part, that is m r2 square minus r1 square by r2 square, and the new position of center of mass which is along the y, and the total mass of the system is equal to capital M. So from here we can obtain a value in y. So on solving we are obtaining the value in y as equal to 4 by 3 pi r2 square plus r1 square plus r1 r2 upon r1 plus r2. So this is the expression that we obtain over here for this particular problem. The concept which we have used is the same. This is from the center. So the concept which we have applied over here is again the same. That is, if I put back the removed portion into the original configuration, then the center of mass will return back to its original position, which was 4r by 3 pi from this center. So we are dealing with problem 4. Mr. Verma, having a mass 50 kg, and Mr. Mathur 60 kg, are sitting at the two extremes of a 4-meter long boat having a mass of 40 kg, standing still in water. To discuss a mechanics problem, they come to the middle of the boat. Neglecting friction with water, how far does the boat move on the water during the process? So if I consider this problem, we are drawing a boat like this. So there is no net external force present in this system, and hence there will be no displacement of center of mass. So in this particular problem we have Mr. Verma having a mass of 50 kg. So I am drawing Mr. Verma over here having a mass of 50 kg, and Mr. Mathur on the extreme end having a mass of 60 kg, and the mass of the boat itself is 40 kg. So the mass of the boat itself is 40 kg, and the length of the boat is given to us as 4 meter. So the length of the boat is 4 meter. So whenever we are solving problem like this, I say that there is no net external force. So the concept which we are using is that the displacement of center of mass will be zero in such cases. So there is no net external force in the x-axis direction. So I say that the displacement of center of mass is going to be zero in such cases. So in order to proceed with this problem, the first thing that we do is we specify a coordinate system. So in this case, I am considering one end of the boat over here as the point of origin, and this as the x-axis. So if I locate the initial position of center of mass, so the initial position of center of mass along the x-axis direction can be evaluated as 40 into 2 plus 60 into 4 upon total mass. So the contribution of Mr. Verma, that is 50 kg, will be 0 because he is standing at origin, and the total mass of the system is equal to 150 kg. So the initial position of center of mass is evaluated at a position that is 80 plus 240, 320 by 150, that is 32 by 15 meter from the origin on the x-axis direction. That is, if I mark this point, so this is the line of center of mass that we have. This is the line of center of mass that we have in the x-axis direction. So now the question is stating that they both start walking and they meet at the middle of the boat. So as a result of which I am considering that the boat is displaced by a distance x. So the boat is displaced by a distance x, that is from its initial position. The displacement of the boat is equal to x, and they both will meet at a point which is somewhat like this to discuss the problem. So this distance is equal to 2 meter, and this is another 2 meter. The weight of the boat is acting at the center of mass where the two are meeting. So I can say that the final position of center of mass is also the same, and hence the boat will be displaced in such a way that when they will meet at the position of center of mass. So I can say that the new position of center of mass, that is the final position of center of mass, is equal to x plus 2. So that is the displacement of center of mass is equal to 0. So the initial and final position of center of mass matches. So I can say that x plus 2 is equal to 32 by 15. And from here we get a value that x is equal to 2 by 15 meter, which is written as 0.13 meter or 13 centimeter. So this is the answer for this particular problem. So the boat will be displaced by 13 centimeter when they meet at the center to discuss the problem. Let us move to the next question. A railroad car of mass m is at rest on frictionless rails. When a man of mass m starts moving on the car towards the engine, if the car recoils with a speed v backwards on the rail, with what velocity is the man approaching the engine? So in this particular problem, let us consider somewhat like this, which is a railroad car. And the problem is stating that a man who is standing on one end starts walking towards the engine, which I am marking over here as E. So the mass of the railroad car is given to us as capital M, which is initially at rest, and mass of the man is equal to small m, who starts moving on the car towards the engine, and as a result of which the recoil speed of the car is v in the backward direction. So v is the recoil velocity of the rail in the backward direction. The problem is asking with what velocity is the man approaching the engine. So we begin like this, that velocity of man with respect to the railroad car and hence the engine can be written as x. Velocity of engine is equal to the velocity of the railroad car. So we can write it as velocity of man minus velocity of engine, and this is given to us as x. So from here I can say that the velocity of man can be written as x plus the velocity of engine or the velocity of railroad car. So now we are saying that the engine will be recoiling in the backward direction. So this was the initial position where I am marking that the initial momentum of the system is equal to 0. Now as the system starts recoiling, so the engine is moving with a speed v with respect to ground in the backward direction. So over here in this expression I can say that a velocity of man can be written as x minus v, and hence I can say that P initial is equal to P final. So if I write the final momentum of the system, then we have the mass of the railroad car as capital M, which is moving with a speed v in the backward direction, so we are using a negative sign, followed by mass of the man m, and the velocity of the man is equal to x minus v. So from here we can solve for x, that is mv is equal to mx minus v, and from here we get x is equal to m plus m upon small m into v. So we obtain something like this, that is m plus mv upon m plus m into small m. So this is the velocity with which the man is approaching the engine. Let us move to the next problem. A gun is mounted on the railroad car. The mass of the car, the gun, and the shell and the operator are 50 m, where m is the mass of one shell. If the velocity of the shell with respect to the gun in its state before firing, now this is a very important line, in its state before firing is 200 meter per second, what is the recoil speed of the car after the second shot? So the problem is asking us to calculate the recoil speed of the car after the second shot. So over here I am drawing a railroad car with a gun mounted on it, and a man is there who is going to fire the gun. So initially I can say that as the gun is mounted on it, the velocity of center of mass initially is equal to 0. That is, the entire system is in a state of rest. Now one bullet or one shell is fired having a mass m. So the mass of this remaining system is going to be 49 m, and the total mass is equal to 50 m. So if I apply momentum conservation over here, so I can say that initial momentum is equal to final momentum. So initially the entire system was at rest, and hence the initial momentum of center of the entire system is written as 0, and now the mass m is moving with a speed v which is equal to 200, and the railroad car along with the operator and the gun is recoiling with a velocity v. So we are putting over here a negative sign plus m into 200. So from here I calculate the recoil velocity after the first shell is fired, which is coming out to be 200 by 49, and it is towards the left. So we have already mentioned the sign, that is I have already put the negative sign knowing that the recoil velocity is going to be towards the left. So the speed which we obtain is equal to 200 by 49 meter per second, and the recoil velocity is towards the left. So now let us discuss the second part. When another shell is fired and the velocity of the car with respect to the platform is already 200 by 49 meter per second, which is moving in the backward direction. Now if I apply the same sort of aspect, that is initial velocity of the shell with respect to the railroad car is going to be 0. Now for firing the second shell, so I am considering something like this, that with respect to the cell, the initial velocity of the gun is equal to 0, and hence I am putting it as 0. And finally when the gun is fired or the shell is fired, so as the question is stating in its state before firing is equal to 200 meter per second, so we are solving with respect to shell. So I can say that the residual mass this time is 48 m, and this is v naught plus m into 200. So this time the velocity v naught that we attain is equal to 200 by 48 meter per second after the second shell is recoiled with respect to the shell. And since the initial velocity was equal to 200 by 49 before the first shell was fired, so I can say velocity of car with respect to the earth, velocity of car with respect to the earth can be written as 200 by 49 plus 200 by 48 meter per second, and this is towards the left, or I can put a negative sign over here, so it is towards the left, that is 200 1 by 49 plus 1 by 48 meter per second. So this is how we have applied momentum conservation for this particular problem. In the second stage, we have applied a momentum conservation equation with respect to the shell, because it is the problem is stating the velocity of shell with respect to the gun in its state of firing is 200 meter per second. So if I wish to write over here 200, so I need to apply the equation with respect to the gun. So if I consider gun shell system, so initially the momentum of the gun shell system is going to be 0, because the velocity of shell with respect to the gun before the second shot is fired is going to be 0, and post that it is 200 meter per second. So and then when we apply the equation with respect to the earth, so we add both the velocity, that is the velocity before firing the second shell and post firing the second shell. Let us deal with problem number 7. Two persons, each of mass m, are standing at the two extremes of a railroad car of mass capital M, resting on a smooth track, figure given below. The person on the left jumps to the left with a horizontal speed u with respect to the state of the car before the jump. Thereafter, the other person jumps to the right again with the same horizontal speed u with respect to the state of the car before his jump. Find the velocity of the car after both the persons have jumped off. So if we begin with this problem, we are beginning with this initial state that is given to us. So in this state, the velocity of the car is 0, and the man towards the left jump towards the left with a speed u, and hence as a result of which the system will recoil with a speed v. So if we apply momentum conservation with respect with for this particular system, so I can say that initial momentum is equal to final momentum. So the initial momentum of the system was 0, and final momentum will be considering the man which is jumping towards the left, that is minus mu, and the recoil velocity for the mass of the railroad car and the mass of the person standing in the right with a speed v, and from here we calculate the speed v as mu upon m plus n. So this is the velocity of the railroad car post the first jump. So now if I draw this system again, so we can consider this railroad car in a way like this, and over here the another person is standing. So this system is moving with a speed v in this direction, and the man is going to jump with a speed u with respect to the railroad car, and hence if I write for this person, I am calling him as b. with respect to this boy or bee. So then I can frame an equation like this, that velocity of boy with respect to the railroad car is equal to u as stated in the problem, who is going to jump towards the right, and hence I can write that vb minus v car with respect to the earth is equal to u, or I can say that vb minus of mu upon m plus m is equal to u. So therefore the velocity of boy is going to be u plus mu upon m plus m. So we are marking this as equation number A. So now if I consider this system, if I consider this second system over here, so I can say that post the boy jump, the recoil velocity of the system will become equal to v dash, and the mass of the system will be equal to m. So then I can say that the system is going to be written in this way, that mu is equal to m, this entire system, that is equal to u plus mu upon m plus m into mv dash. So this is going to be the momentum conservation statement for this particular problem. That is this part we have already calculated over here, that is from equation number A, and v dash is the recoil velocity of the railroad car post the man jumps. So now if we solve for this particular part, so we can write it as mu minus mu plus mu upon capital M plus small m is equal to capital M v dash. So v dash can be written in this way, that we have taken capital M common, and hence the expression can be written as m by m u minus u plus mu upon m plus m, which is equal to v dash, and on solving we are obtaining v dash as equal to minus mu square upon m plus m. So this is the velocity of recoil of the railroad car post the other person jumps. So we are dealing with problem number 8. In a typical Indian buggy, a luxury cart drawn by horses, a wooden plate is fixed on the rear on which one person can sit. A buggy of mass 200 kg is moving at a speed of 10 km per hour. As it overtakes a schoolboy walking at a speed of 4 km per hour, the boy sits on the wooden plate. If the mass of the boy is 25 kg, what will be the new velocity of the buggy? So if we consider this problem, we can say that if we consider buggy boy system, then momentum for them will be conserved because there is no net external force acting on the system. So for a buggy boy system, the value of initial momentum is equal to the final momentum for the same buggy boy system. So we are applying momentum conservation in this particular problem, and we will be putting the value of speed in kilometer per hour. So the mass of buggy is 200 having a speed of 10 kilometer per hour, plus the mass of boy, which is equal to 25, and the speed is 4 kilometer per hour. So when the boy sits on the buggy, then the total mass of the boy with the buggy will become equal to 225 kg, and let the final speed of them be become v final. So over here we can say that the value is going to be 2000 plus 100 is equal to 225 into vf, and the value of the final speed is going to be 2100 divided by 225, and the value will be in kilometer per hour. So if we calculate it out, so the speed is coming out to be 28 by 3 kilometer per hour. So for this particular problem, 28 by 3 kilometer per hour is the correct answer. Let us move to the next one. A ball of mass 0.5 kg moving at a speed of 5 meter per second collides with another ball of mass 1 kg. After the collision, the ball sticks together and remain motionless. What was the velocity of the 1 kg block before the collision? So over here the collision which we are talking about is an example of perfectly inelastic collision. So in this particular problem we are considering something like this, that a 1D collision is taking place in which a body of mass which is equal to 0.5 kg moving with 5 meter per second is colliding with another block of mass 1 kg which was having an initial velocity, let us suppose v, and post collision the two stick together, that is 0.5 kg mass and 1 kg mass stick together and remains motionless, that is final velocity becomes 0. So we are asked to calculate the velocity of the 1 kg block before the collision. So if we consider this particular problem, we say that if we consider both the block as part of one system, there is no net external force acting on the system and the mass of the system is also conserved. So I can say that the initial momentum before collision is equal to final momentum after collision, and I can write the initial momentum as 0.5 into 5 having a positive value plus 1 into v, and the final momentum is equal to 0. So from here I can write that the value is going to be 5 by 2 is equal to minus v, or speed v is equal to minus 5 by 2, that is minus 2.5 meter per second. So over here we can say that the speed of the ball before collision was equal to 2.5 meter per second, opposite to the direction of motion of the first ball. Let us move to the next problem. Consider a head-on collision between the two particles of masses m1 and m2. The initial speed of the particles are u1 and u2 in the same direction. The collision starts at t equal to 0 and the particle interact for a time interval delta t. During the collision, the speed of the first particle varies with time given by this particular expression. Find the speed of the second particle as a function of time during the collision. So if we consider the head-on collision of two particles moving in the same direction. So we are considering this is particle m1, this is particle m2. The initial speed of the particle is given to us as u1 and u2 respectively in the direction of motion. So now during the course of collision, the velocity, the speed of the first particle is varying as by the expression. So we are asked to find the speed of the second particle as a function of time during collision. So let us suppose that the speed of the second particle as a function of time during collision be v2t. So if I write momentum conservation statement for this particular system, then I can write P initial equal to P final. So the initial momentum of the two particles that is moving in the same direction. So we can write it as m1 u1 plus m2 u2. And during the course of collision, the velocity of one is varying with time as m1 u1 plus t by delta t v1 minus u1 plus m2 velocity of 2 as a function of time. So from this particular part we can solve the expression for velocity of 2 as a function of time. So let us make an approach like this, that is we can simply write this expression as m1 u1 m2 u2 which is equal to m1 u1 plus m1 t upon delta t v1 minus u1 plus m2 velocity of 2 as a function of time. So from here we can clear this out, and now from here on solving we obtain that velocity of 2 as a function of time. On rearranging the terms in the side of the equation, we obtain the value equal to u2 minus of m1 by m2 t by delta t v1 minus u. So we obtain an expression like this for this particular problem, that is velocity of the second particle as a function of time, is obtained like this for this particular problem. So all we need to do is we just have to apply momentum conservation, and we are least bothered about the nature of this particular equation. And on applying momentum conservation, we can directly obtain velocity of the second particle as a function of time. Let us move to the next problem. Problem number 11. A particle is fired with a speed u at an angle theta above a horizontal field. The coefficient of restitution of collision between the between the projectile and the field is E. How far from the starting point of the projectile makes its second collision with the field? So we are considering something like this, that this is the field on which the collision is being discussed about. And we are considering that the particle is projected from a point over here with a speed u making an angle theta with the horizontal. So as a result of which the particle follows a path like this and makes a first impact over here. Now post the first impact, we say that the rebound velocity over here is going to be u dash at a certain angle phi, and post which the particle is going to follow another path like this. So we are asked to calculate the total distance from the point of throw, that is I am calling this as range R1, and this one as range R2, and we are asked to calculate the total value of R for this expression. So if I write the equation for R1, so from the results of projectile motion, I can simply write it as u square sine 2 theta by g. So this is going to be our expression for the first range, that is R1, u square sine 2 theta by g. Now as the particle makes an impact with the ground, I am mentioning over here as a point P. The speed with which the particle is thrown is going to be the same speed which the particle is going to strike the horizontal plane. And I write that on rebound, the velocity along y-axis is going to change. So velocity along y-axis is going to change, and it will become EU sine theta. So the y component of the velocity, that is this component which we refer as u sine theta, the other x-axis component is equal to u cos theta. So the y-axis component, that is u sine theta, is going to change on the impact at the first collision, whereas the velocity component along the x-axis remains unchanged. It is going to remain u cos theta. So if I modify the expression along the y-axis, so I can say that if we solve for the y-axis part for the second part of the projectile, so I can say that displacement along y-axis is going to be 0, acceleration along y-axis is minus g, and from here we will obtain the time of flight will be changed as 2 EU sine theta by g. And if I put this expression for solving along the x-axis part, that is displacement along x-axis is R2, acceleration along x-axis is 0, and we connect the two expressions with time. So I can say that displacement along x-axis, that is R2, will be written as u cos theta into time t, that is 2 EU sine theta by g. So the expression over here is going to be modified as E u square sine 2 theta by g. So on collision, the y component of the speed is going to change, and we have obtained the value of R2, and hence the total R which we are looking for is equal to the expression of R1 plus R2, and we can write it as u square sine 2 theta by g plus EU square sine 2 theta by g. So this is the point from the throw where the second collision with the field is going to take place. So we're dealing with problem number 12. A ball falls on an inclined plane of inclination theta from a height h above the point of impact and makes a perfectly elastic collision. Where will it hit the plane again? So when we say that the collision is perfectly elastic, we mean to say that E is equal to 1. So I will be putting this value later on in the problem. We are solving it considering that the coefficient of restitution is equal to E. So let us consider something like this. So we are considering that this is an inclined plane that we are talking about. And I'm drawing two such inclined plane to show the velocities before and after the collision respectively. And the inclined plane is inclined at an angle theta. So in the first case, the problem is stating that the ball is dropped from a certain height h. So over here, if we talk about the nature of impact, then the impact, that is speed u, is in the downward direction like this. And if I break the component of speed, then these are the two components of speed that we attain. So we say that this value is theta. So this is going to be u cos theta, and this one is u sin theta. So after the impact, the coefficient of restitution will affect the value of u cos theta, and it will be eu cos theta, whereas the x-axis component u sin theta remains unaltered. So the change in speed or the velocity is taking place along the line of impact. And now from here the rebound will start taking place, and it will hit the inclined plane, say at a distance r from here. So it is a simple case of a projectile motion on an inclined plane. So over here we are considering that if acceleration due to gravity is acting in the downward direction, then the component of acceleration due to gravity can be written as g cos theta along y-axis and g sin theta along x-axis. So if I state these two facts, so I am making over here two columns, that is along y-axis and over here along x-axis. So along y-axis, the initial velocity along y-axis for the motion that we are solving is equal to eu cos theta, and that along x-axis is equal to u sin theta. The acceleration along y-axis is going to be minus g cos theta, and that along x-axis is going to be g sin theta. Displacement along y-axis is going to be 0, displacement along x is going to be r. Time of flight vt, because we will be comparing or equating the two times. So if we solve this particular expression or the equations that we have, so from here we are obtaining that the value of t is equal to 2 eu by g. And if I substitute this value of time over here in this expression, we get the value for range r, which is equal to u sin theta into t, that is 2 eu by g, plus half a t square g sin theta, and t square is equal to 4 e square u square by g square. So the value of r, if we put the value of e equal to 1, can be attained as equal to, we will attain an expression over here, 2u square sin theta by g, and over here will be e plus 1, that is 2, and 2 will be added. So if I put the value of u is equal to root over 2gh, then the value of r is going to become 8h sin theta. So this expression which we have attained over here in terms of E will be important if in question the problem is stating that the coefficient of restitution is equal to E. And we have substituted U is equal to root over 2gh since the ball was dropped from a height h. So let us deal with the next problem. A bullet of mass 20 gram moving horizontally at a speed of 300 meter per second is fired into a wooden block of mass 500 gram suspended by a long string. The bullet crosses the block and emerges on the other side If the center of the block rises through a height of 20 centimeter, then find the speed of the bullet as it emerges from the block. So if we consider this particular arrangement, so a block is placed over here and a bullet is fired on it from the other side, which emerges on the other side with a speed maybe v1. Because of the bullet hitting the block starts rising and rises by a height which is given to us as h. The height is given to us as h. So the first thing that we do over here is, if I solve for block, so for block we can consider that after the bullet strikes, the velocity is v2 and it rises by a height h. So considering the plane of the block as the reference level, I can say that initially which was the energy was in the form of kinetic energy is converted into mgh, and over here we can say that v2 is equal to 2gh root over. So this is the speed of the block after the bullet strikes it. Now the next thing which we are doing is we are applying a momentum conservation for the bullet block system. So the initial momentum for the bullet block system is equal to the final momentum for the bullet block system along the x-axis or along the impact direction where the bullet strikes. So the mass of the bullet is 20 gram, which is moving with 300 meter per second, and it strikes a wooden target which is having a mass of 500 gram, which starts moving with a velocity v2, and the bullet on the other side emerges with a certain speed on the other side. So we are writing over here that the speed with which the bullet emerges is equal to v1. So we are writing over here as 20 v1. So we can calculate v2 from here by putting the value of h, which is equal to 20 centimeter, that is 2 into 10 into 20 by 100. So we attain a value equal to 2 meter per second. So if I substitute the value over here, that is 2 meter per second in the expression, so we get 20 into 300 is equal to 500 into 2 plus 20 v1. So where v1 is the speed with which the bullet emerges from the other side of the target. So on solving this expression, we are attaining something like this. We can take 2 common as well. So we attain 300 minus 50, that is v1 is equal to 250 meter per second. So this is the answer for this particular problem. Let us move to the next part. The blocks shown in the figure have equal masses. The surface of A is smooth, but that of B has a friction coefficient of 0.1 with the flow. Block A is moving at a speed of 10 meter per second towards the B, which is kept at rest. Find the distance traveled by B if the collision is perfectly elastic and if the collision is perfectly inelastic. So the friction is only offered by the block B. So in the first case, that is for perfectly elastic collision, so if like masses collide with each other in a head-on way, in a perfectly elastic collision, they interchange their velocity. So after the collision, A will come to rest and B will start moving with a speed that is equal to 10 meter per second. So now I am considering that the initial velocity of B is equal to 10 meter per second, and due to the frictional force, an acceleration will come in, which can be written as mu mg upon m. Over here we are only using the mass of block B and it is going to oppose the motion. So mu is equal to 0.1, that is 1 by 10 into g, that is 10. So we get acceleration is equal to 1 meter per second square. And the problem is saying that we have to calculate the distance traveled till the block comes to rest. So we are putting the final velocity 0 and calculating for the displacement. So we can calculate it this way, v square is equal to u square minus 2as. So from here we attain a value of s equal to 50 meter. In the second part, the problem is stating that the collision is perfectly inelastic. So if the collision is perfectly inelastic, then the two masses will combine post collision. So initially, before the collision, A was moving with a certain speed. We are calling it as u. And after collision, the two will start moving together with a common velocity. We are calling it as v. Now since the mass is same, so if I apply momentum conservation, that is P initial equal to P final, then I can write that mu is equal to 2mv, and the value post collision is going to be u by 2. So u was equal to 10 meter per second, so this time v is equal to 5 meter per second. So this we are considering as the initial velocity of the system after collision. Now for this entire system, the acceleration is going to be because of the frictional force which will be created on the block A, but the total mass of the system this time is equal to 2A, because B is also a part of system along with A, and hence the value is turning out to be minus 1 by 10 into 10 by 2. That is, for acceleration the value is equal to minus 0.5 meter per second square. The final velocity must be equal to 0, that is the distance traveled before coming to rest is asked, and we are calculating the value of displacement. So if we solve this expression, we write v square is equal to u square minus 2a s, and this time the displacement is turning out to be 25 meter. So this is going to be the answer to the second part for this particular problem, that is 25 meter distance will be covered if the collision is perfectly inelastic. Let us deal with the next problem. Problem number 15. The friction coefficient between the horizontal surface and each of the blocks shown in the figure is 0.2. The collision between the blocks is perfectly elastic. Find the separation between the two blocks when they come to rest. So if I start solving this particular problem, so I am naming this block as block A and the another one as a block B. So now before the impact, as the friction coefficient is equal to 0.2, so the block which is provided a speed of 1 meter per second at a distance of 16 centimeters from block B will actually start retarding before making the impact. So we are calculating for the part before the impact. So the initial velocity of A is given to us as 1 meter per second, and acceleration of A can be written as mu, which is equal to 0.2 mass of A into g divided by A's mass, and since it is a value of retardative force, so the value of acceleration is turning out to be minus 2 meter per second square. And after traveling a displacement of 16 centimeter, which is equal to 16 by 100 meter, we are considering let the speed of A before the collision be VA, and we are solving for VA. So if we solve for VA, we can write it as V square is equal to U square minus 2AS, and the value of V is turning out to be 9 by 25 square root, that is equal to 3 by 5 meter per second. So now we can break this problem in this way, that is we are considering a problem in which the two blocks are colliding like this, A and B. So the velocity of A before collision is 3 by 5 meter per second, and after the collision we are considering that A and B are moving with the speed v1 and v2 respectively, and the nature of the collision is stated to be perfectly elastic in nature. So if the collision is perfectly elastic in nature, then we can apply the two equations that we know, that is momentum conservation will be taking place along the x-axis direction. So we can say that mass of A, which is equal to 2 into speed 3 by 5, is equal to mass of A, that is 2 into V1 plus mass of B 4 into V2. So from here we get the first expression 3 by 5 is equal to V1 plus 2V2. The next which we can say is that the energy is conserved in case of elastic collision. So I can say that kinetic energy initially is equal to kinetic energy finally after the collision. So in this I can write half mass of A, which is 2, into U square, that is 9 by 25, is equal to half into mass, that is 2, into V1 square, plus half mass, which is 4, into V2 square. So from here we have the second expression, that is we can chop out all the half, and 2 can also be taken as common, and we attain an expression like this, that 9 by 25 is equal to V1 square plus twice of V2 square. So this is the second expression that we have. And on solving both the equation, that is equation 1 and equation 2, we attain the value of V1 as equal to minus 0.2 meter per second, and that of V2 as plus 0.4 meter per second. So that is I can say that after collision, the block A will start rebounding back, whereas block B will start moving in the forward direction. So I can consider in a way like this, that the 2 kg block after collision is moving back with the speed of 0.2 meter per second, and the 4 kg block is moving with a speed of 0.4 meter per second after collision. And we have to calculate the separation between them when they come to rest. So if I consider that for any block we are calculating a general result, that if initial speed is u, the acceleration is because of the frictional force, that is mu mg upon m, which can be written as minus mu g. The final velocity is equal to 0. So we are calculating the displacement, so we can write it as v square equals u square minus 2as. We are saying it as s1. So the value of s1 is turning out to be u square upon 2 mu g. So in this case, if I consider that this travels a distance s1 and the another block travels a distance s2, so the separation between them is going to be s1 plus s2, which we can write it as u square by 2 mu g for the first block and u square by 2 mu g for the second block. Now as per problem, the value of friction coefficient is 0.2 for both the blocks. So we can write it as u square by 2 mu g plus u square by 2 mu g. So from here we are attaining a value equal to 0.1 and 0.4, that is the value is coming out to be 5 centimeter. So the separation between them after the collision can be calculated in centimeter as 5 centimeter or 0.05 meter. So with this we have come to an end of the problem solving session for center of mass and collision.